So lately I've shown a couple of multiplayer battles where it's been 2v2 or 3v3 format and like not super serious. But I think it's time to kind of go back to my roots, Dark Elves, and on the ladder it seems like you run into a lot of High Elf players, so that's okay for me. I think the Dark Elves match up well against the High Elves because the Bleak Swords, your core infantry troop, it trades very well with Spearmen. So I'm okay with that matchup. Um, this was a very competitive game, like, and by competitive I mean close, between myself and Everchosen, and the game went, right down to the wire. So I think there were a couple of cool things that happened in this battle, and that's why I want to showcase it. Um, One thing I do want to say just before the game gets going, just off the initial deployment, one thing I found, like if you want to play like a competitive game, um, you want to play to your strengths, right? So Dark Elves, the strength of their army is the infantry. Like the Harganeth Executioners, for their cost, are some of the hardest hitting infantry in the game. And if you can make contact with the High Elf front line, you're going to basically lawnmower everything, right? Um, in contrast, the Dark Elf cavalry is weaker than the High Elf cavalry. It's either slower or it's very flimsy. So the High Elf cavalry, can outtrade it. So I didn't want to force a cavalry engagement. So instead of going heavy with like cold ones or things like that, I decided to go with some light cavalry, some dark riders, just and have them backline and chase routing units. So the idea was that these guys would just pin things in place, and I think the more I've played Dark Elves recently, the more I think that's the way to go. Like if you want to play competitive, you just need something to pin the other team in place so that your infantry has time to do work, and then just protect your backline, and then trust that your front line is going to win you the game. And the High Elves, they went really heavy with Lothar and Seaguard spam. I don't think Lothar and Seaguard is the most competitive pick. I mean, yes, it's a flexible unit, but I think at most you want one or two of them in your army. Because there's just so many better options to take as High Elf. I mean, you have Dragon Princes, you have Silver Helms, you've got a lot of, very capable flying mounts. So I think it's not optimal. That said, he knew versus Dark Elves he would probably have a range advantage, and he does have a lot of units that can, at least fight a little bit in front line and kind of buy him some time. And there's a lot of pressure on me to advance, right? Because Seaguard, range of 165. Dark Shards, range of 125. So I have to be the aggressor in this engagement. I didn't bring any bolt throwers to kind of play defensively. So here goes. Off the initial arrangement, I push over to the right. And fortunately, I was able to get his troops to move a little bit. So that bought me a bit of time where they weren't shooting me during the approach. So I was like, okay, great. Now that the spearmen are stationary, I'm going to send the bleak swords forward to engage them. The witch elves, I tried to flank around the side, but my opponent wisely noticed that these witch elves are not wearing very much clothes, and he started shooting them. They never even reached the front line. So a gamble on my part. If they could have tied up some Lothar and Seaguard, they would have done really well, but they never made it there. High Elf player does a great job interrupting my bleak swords as they try to approach the spearmen. He positioned his noble on the flank, and he came in right on the side. And you notice he's just trying to interrupt the charges of all of these infantry units, right? Because it buys more time for his archers to do work. Very smart. Recognizing this, I send Hellebron and the sorceress after the noble, because the noble on the chariot is not going to have much of a chance against all of that damage, and Malakos just to tie him up. But even so, like, this is still probably not so bad for the High Elf player because, during this time, Harganeth Executioners are pinned, and the shots are going in. Meanwhile, Dragon gets a really nice breath in here on the Executioners, so that's doing some pretty good damage. Did it clip any of the heroes? Not really, so that's good news for me. The Dark Shards, they're starting to fire in at this Star Dragon. One unit's been broken off already, just from the raining archer fire. I did not bring the Dark Shards with shields. because I was like, well, if he wants to shoot my Dark Shards, he can do that. At least he's not shooting my Harganeth Executioners. And if he doesn't, then, well, good. I just saved whatever, $75, whatever it costs to equip the Dark Shards with shields. So again, these Dark Shards in the back, they're getting absolutely melted. I'm like, this is bad news. Like, things are going sour for me. Balance bar is in my opponent's favor. I've lost all of my archer pressure, so it's going to be very hard for me to take down the dragon. The back line is still untouched, so I'm really hoping these Harganeth Executioners can turn the tides on this frontline engagement quickly, because I'm running out of time. Over here, the Noble breaks free because the Star Dragon came in to disrupt Hellebron and the Dark Sorceress of Shadow. But Hellebron is not afraid of this matchup. Like, she's more than happy to go toe-to-toe with the Star Dragon. So this Star Dragon has Earthblood upgraded. Alarielle's, providing Overwatch. I think she's probably going to dive in here and try and help out the Star Dragon. But just watch Crone Hellebron. Like, just go to work on the Star Dragon. She's doesn't have any buffs right now, but I think soon you'll see it. Yeah, there it goes. So all of a sudden, Alarielle's like, man, this is getting really dicey. Crone Hellebron is going to, like, just absolutely murder my Star Dragon if I'm not careful. And this is where I say that there's value in having the light cavalry, right? Like, I could have been impatient. I could have tried to put my light cavalry into the Lothran Sea Guard or things like that, but no, I was waiting for the dragon to land, and as soon as it landed, I probably could have pinned Alarielle too, but as soon as the dragon landed, I attacked it on both flanks, and this does two things. Number one, it keeps the Star Dragon in place. And number two, it sort of confuses the Star Dragon because it doesn't know who to attack now. Some of the attacks of the Star Dragon might go against the Dark Riders now instead of against Hellebron. And so basically it's just a buffer against attacks. And with it fully surrounded, that's going to affect its leadership too. Enfeebling Foe is dropped by the Shadow Sorceress. Hellebron, does she get her bust pack pop now? This is an absolutely, like, terrifying fight right now. Hellebron's only at 955 HP, so she's dished out damage. She's also taken damage in return. She has Heroic Killing Blow, Blood Frenzy's up. She's got Murderous Mastery, so there's a lot of damage being dealt and received in return. So Hellebron takes a charge from Alarielle. She is low as it gets now. She's down to 400 health. Star Dragon is also taking a beating, down to 1300, but it's got heals, so maybe this is not going to work out after all for me. Just going to see if I can get it. So Hellebron, she gets terrified by the dragon. She finally breaks. Maybe not the worst thing. She's got 400 health, but at least she's alive. I still need her buffs if I'm going to have any chance at winning this fight. Look at the balance bar at this point. Like, this is way in my opponent's favor. It is dicey as hell for me. Shadow Sorceress is just holding on for dear life. She's taking a beating now, very low. Look at her health. She's down to leadership minus 40. She's at 400 health. Alarielle and Star Dragon are licking their chops. If I lose Hellebron and the Shadow Sorceress, like, that's game over for me. There is no hope of coming back. The back line is still unprotected, but the thing about Dark Elves is, like, sooner or later, they're going to win out against these Spearmen. Like, the Spearmen will buy you time, but, like, these Harganeth Executioners, once they get through those Spearmen, you better watch out. So I was hoping that was going to happen. Because the House had nothing that could chase Hellebron, I mean, the Star Dragon was still pinned down by the Dark Riders. She was able to rally and come back, and she comes in and puts a huge charge on the Star Dragon, and she is pissed off, man. She just took a beating, and now it's her time to give it back. This time she does have all of her buffs active, and I just pause that really quick. Let's see. So yeah, Hellebron comes in here with her 400 health. She's got her Blood Frenzy, Heroic Killing Blow, and Murderous Mastery. So, like, she's up to 725 with Armor Pen. She's got Poison. This dragon is not getting away, and Alarielle can have all the heals in the world. It is done for. Furthermore, the Dark Riders, they just keep poking the Star Dragon in the back, so the Star Dragon, it can't take off. More good news for me. My Sorceress of Shadow, she's come back, so I'm like, yes, okay. All of a sudden, not so bleak. Balance bar still very heavily in my opponent's favor. The Noble has pretty much Cleaned up the rest of these dark shelves. The witch elves are gone, so I have nothing to really pin these things in place. But the front line is looking up for me. All of a sudden, the spears are basically gone. There's no sword masters. There's no cavalry I have to worry about. So these infantry, like, that's the Dark Elf's strength. They're going to win this infantry engagement. And now you can see, like, some of these Lothran Sea Guard, like, they're not meant to fight small like this. They've got some spears. They can deal with some large, but they're in deep, deep trouble. Now the Dark Riders, since the dragon is gone, they're free to start, preventing these Sea Guard from just kiting, right? And I have to be very, very careful because Crone Hellebron is so low. If Alarielle hits her with any charge, it's game over for me. But here comes a big Gaze of Cain to just get all of my infantry, like, really mulching away at the High Elf infantry. And look, the balance bar is pushing back to the middle. Suddenly I've come back. Alarielle coming right on Hellebron. Like, that's the perfect move. But I kept her very tight with my dread spears and my other infantry, and I was able to get in some damage on Alarielle. Plus the Sorceress of Shadow dropped the enfeebling foe. So Hellebron escapes still with 400 health. The High Elf, because of this attention drawn by Alarielle, he was able to reform his back line, but Alarielle's taken a huge amount of damage here, and I will start unballing my units shortly. But again, Dark Riders, MVPs, they're preventing Alarielle from just pulling away. That lets Hellebron come in with a huge charge, and she goes, you know what, bitch, it's my turn. And so just like she jumps through the dragon, she comes in and finishes off Alarielle. I'm not sure if these backline Sea Guard were trying to snipe out Hellebron. If I were the High Elf player, that's certainly what I would be trying to do. But at this point, he's in deep trouble. So Hellebron is like, okay, I guess the High Elf player's got one more ace in his cards. He wants to get the Noble to come after Hellebron. But Hellebron's feeling pretty good about herself. She's just dumpstered a dragon and Alarielle, so she's not going to be afraid of any Noble. The archers are coming in. They're shooting Hellebron, but I keep her moving, keep her in the trees, and she's still rocking her 439 health. Infantry, they're mulching up the last of the spearmen. I mean, they've done a valiant effort holding the line against, vastly superior infantry, but sooner or later, they just run out of time. The Noble comes in here, tries to chase Hellebron, but I had a unit of Dark Riders hidden in the trees. They come out. They pin the Noble, and it's the same story. Like, once that Noble is pinned, I can freely charge in with Hellebron, and she's going to just finish him off. So he immediately shatters, and that's the game. So let's go to the battle's end screen. So first off, super well played to Everchosen of Cain. He pushed me to my max clearly. The balance bar was way in his favor at the start of the game, but fortunately for me, both of my heroes rallied, and with just a sliver of health, they were able to come back and give it to Alarielle and the Star Dragon. So, I didn't get much use out of my Dark Shards. They put some pressure on the Star Dragon and kind of kept the Star Dragon busy at the start. I would have liked to see a little bit more use out of them, although this one did pick up some chevrons. But the MVPs, even though there's only one chevron on this unit of Dark Riders, for sure, in my opinion, it was these Dark Riders who pinned Alarielle, who pinned the Star Dragon. And then the Harganeth Executioners, if you expect the enemy to have any sort of front line, these are like must-take infantry. If they're fighting, they're probably winning, and when you drop Gaze of Cain, they're going to just mulch through everything. So, very fun game. I hope you liked, seeing some more high-level play, I guess. And it was a very fun game. So, good job to my opponent, and we'll catch you later. Bye.